of y equals x minus 8. Okay, it gives you that equation. And then it gives you the point of 5, 1. Now, okay, it gives you the point and it gives you an equation. And it's asking you to write an equation of a line that passes through that point 5, 1, but is parallel to y minus 8. I mean, y is equal to x minus 8. Okay? So first of all, let's figure out what we know. If we have to write another equation of a line, okay, what is our slope going to be? If it has to be parallel to y equals x minus 8. It's going to be 1, or x. Okay? It'll be 1. Your slope will actually be 1. So we know for a fact that our m is equal to 1. We know that. Okay? Now, if we have a slope and a point, and we're trying to go to slope-intercept form, what are we missing?
Y-intercept?
We're missing the y-intercept. Good job, Autumn. Yes, we're missing our y-intercept. So we need to figure it out. If we have a point and a slope, all we need to do is substitute that into our y equals mx plus b equation. Okay? So, here's my x and here's my y. So my y is 1. Oh, yes, 1. My slope is 1. My x value is 5. And we're trying to solve for b. We're trying to find our y-intercept. That's what we're doing. So if you work that out, 5 times 1 is going to give you 5 plus b is equal to 1. Minus 5 from both sides gives me a negative 4 is equal to b. Yeah, good job, Kenny. So now all we have to do is we have our b, we have our slope. So you just need to rewrite it as y equals our slope, which is 1, x minus 4. That's it. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Recording right now.
Okay, this is number 4. So, we have our equation. We have our point. It's wanting us to write another equation in slope-intercept form that's parallel to our line of 4x minus 2. So, we know for a fact our slope for our new line is going to be 4. Okay, we know that for a fact. Now, the only thing you need to do is substitute it in your y equals mx plus b. Okay, we have an x, and we have a y, and we have a slope. So my y is going to be 2. My slope is 4. My x is negative 2. We're solving for b. That's the only part of this equation we're missing. Okay? 4 times a negative 2 gives me a negative 8. Add 8 to both sides. Okay? All I'm doing is working this thing out. So our b value is 10. Our y-intercept is 10. Now, last thing you need to do is rewrite the equation. Y equals our slope, which is 4, times x, our y-intercept, which is 10. So that's what you should have got for number 4. Now, continue working on those 1 through 12. Number 10. Ooh, that's a good one. You need that? Sorry. We're on parallel side, yeah, 24.
1 through 12.
Yeah. Okay?
Now we're on.
That's fine. I'll leave it up there. Okay. So for number 10, find an equation. Okay? So if we have a b value or y-intercept of 2 and we have our equation, first of all, we need to figure out what is our slope going to be. Okay? If you look at the equation, all you need to do with that is get it in y equals mx plus b. Solve for y. Okay? So I'm going to minus 4x to both sides. All right? So I got 2y is equal to negative 4x plus 8. Okay? All I'm doing is getting y by itself. Lastly, you need to divide both sides by 2. Make sure you divide both numbers by 2, not just 4, not just 8. Okay? That will cancel on this side. That gives me y equals a negative 2x plus 4. Now we have an equation, and now we have the y-intercept. So the only thing that you need to do is what? Remember that this negative 2 is our slope.
Oh, so you need to make another one.
Yeah, it's wanting another equation. If we have a b and a slope, if we have a y-intercept and a slope, that's all we need. So just rewrite it. Y equals negative 2x plus 2.
Has to have the same slope, but different lines.
It has to have the same slope because we're talking about parallel lines. Okay? So all I'm doing right now is just writing down my m and my n. Okay, I'm just writing down our information. So our m is negative 3, negative 1. Our n is 2 and 1. Our p is 4, negative 4. Our q is negative 2 and 11. Okay. Are the walls perpendicular? Explain. So the first thing that you should do
Put it slope intercept form.
is put, well, you don't even have to do that. Only thing that you need to look at is the slope. That's the only thing that you need to figure out. Because if it's perpendicular, it'll be the reciprocal of it. Okay, so let's figure out the slope for m and n first. So I'm going to do 1 minus a negative 1, and I'm going to do 2 minus a negative 3. Okay? 2 negatives, make a positive. That gives me 2. 2 negatives, make a positive. That gives me 5. Okay? Now, for PQ, let's do 11 minus a negative 4. And let's do a negative 2 minus a 4. All I'm doing is figuring out the slope of these lines. That's it. Okay? 2 negatives make a positive. That gives me a negative 6. Now, just by looking at the slopes, is 2 over 5 the reciprocal of 15 over negative 6, or negative 15 over 6?
You could simplify the 15 over negative 6, couldn't you?
Yeah, and if we put, they
What, put 3 into both sides?
5 over 2, so it is a reciprocal.
So-
5 over 2.
So if you look at 15 over 6, yes, good job, Tori. Yes, and Christian. Yeah, if you simplify 15 over 6, okay, you divide 3 into both of them. You're going to get 5 over 2, and that's a negative. So is negative 5 over 2 the reciprocal of 2 over 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, because all it did was flipped and change the sign. So yes, they are perpendicular.
Oh, I've got a question. Question.
Okay, for number 2, we have a 2x plus y is equal to a negative 7. That's our first equation. I'm going to go ahead and get this in y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to minus 2x from both sides. Okay, I'm getting y by itself. So I have a y equals negative 2x minus 7. So I'm going to write my slope over to the side, because that's really the only thing that you should be looking at. So my slope is a negative 2. Okay, so that's my first one. My second one is x minus 2y is equal to negative 4.
Y equals 1 plus x plus 2.
So, same thing. I'm going to get this in y equals mx plus b form. All right? All right, that's all I'm doing. So lastly, you need to divide both sides by a negative 2. So that gives me a y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So for this one, my slope is 1 over 2.
But on the third,
So then my third one, it's going to be a 4x minus y is equal to 5. Okay? So I'm going to minus 4x from both sides. Remember, you need to change this negative.
Oh, yeah.
Divide both sides by a -1. That gives me a positive 4x, gives me a -5. So my slope for my third one is equal to 4. Now we need to look at the slopes and see if they are parallel and perpendicular. You can tell right off the bat that third one is no bueno. Not even going to work with this. Okay?
But the other two are perfect.
Now, you need to look at the first and second one. Your first one is -2. The second one is 1/2. So is the reciprocal, first of all, you can tell that they're not parallel because they're not the same. So that's out. Okay? Lastly, you can see if the reciprocal of -2 is 1/2, which it is. All they did was flip it and change the sign. Remember, you can also, if you get confused about reciprocal, you can also multiply them, and your answers should always be -1.
So the first one and the second one are perpendicular.
So you need to say that the first one and the second one are perpendicular. Okay, so for number 4, we have a point of 4, 2. We have an equation of y equals 1/2 x plus 1. Okay? Or perpendicular, just look at the slope. Remember, parallel has the same slope. Perpendicular has the reciprocal. Okay? So it's asking us to write an equation that passes through that point 4, 2 that is perpendicular to our y equals 1/2 x plus 1. So right off the bat, you know that your slope is going to be what?
1/2.
Not 1/2. We're talking about perpendicular. Gage. Thank you. Not 1. It would be -2. Because our original slope is 1/2. The reciprocal of 1/2 is -2. Okay? So, now we need to plug it into our y equals mx plus b, because we have an x, we have a y, and we have a slope. So my y is 2, my slope is a -2, and my x is 4. We're trying to find b, because this wants us in slope-intercept form. We don't know what b is. We don't know what the y-intercept is. So if you work that out, that gives you a -8. Add 8 to both sides. And the last step that you should be doing is putting it in slope-intercept form. Y equals our slope, our new slope, which is -2x, and our b value, which is 10. Okay? Okay, so I'm looking at this first box. Okay? I'm looking at the first one. So exactly one, number of solutions. What that means is it crosses or it intersects at one spot. Does everybody see that? That's the main difference between that. This is intersecting at one spot. So the number of solutions is exactly 1. There was only one solution for that. It's wherever they intersect. All right? The terminology, consistent and independent, I tried to figure out some kind of easy way to remember that. Henry came up with it yet. So they're just consistent and independent. Independent, I'm thinking of it as, well, first of all, it's consistent because there's nothing happening to it. It's just intersecting at one spot. Then independent, I try to remember that as independent as it intersects at one spot. I know it's not very helpful. We'll try to make some kind of rap or something. I don't know. To remember that.
For what? They're trying the internet.
To remember that.
First one?
Consistent and independent. So if you have some kind of funny way of writing up a song or singing a song or something, I don't know, you can do that. So,
I didn't say anything.
That should be like an
You
extra.
said it.
That should be like an extra credit.
okay, now, let's look at the second graph. First of all, the number of solutions is infinite. You can tell that because there's no other line intersecting. Okay, it's infinite. And then this one is consistent and dependent. Dependent, I think of as dependent. It's depending on intersecting something. It's not. It's not intersecting anything. I'll try to figure out a fancy way to remember that. And then your last one is when you have no solution. There's no intersection at all. It's when you have those two lines that are almost parallel to each other. Okay? And it's inconsistent. There's no consistency in it. Okay? So,
It's neither dependent or independent.
yes. Yeah, so it would be inconsistent. And also, it's neither independent or dependent. It's a no solution. Okay? So it's inconsistent and it's no solution. Okay, use the graph to determine whether the system is consistent or inconsistent and if it is independent or dependent. So by looking at your chart,
It's consistent and independent.
it's consistent and independent. Okay, it meets at one point. So how many solutions are there? One. There's one number of solutions. Okay, so it's consistent and independent.
The way you can find the intersection point of exit is you can make the two equations equal. So like